Ambassador Zekthar stood before the Galactic Council chambers, his forearms gesturing with practiced precision. The massive hall stretched above him like a cathedral, filled with representatives from 43 different species. Some floated in special tanks, others perched on modified seats, and a few existed as pure energy contained within crystalline shells. The Vryn diplomat had addressed this council hundreds of times, but today felt different. Today, tensions ran high. The Creathian Empire has seized another system, Zekthar announced, his translator device converting his clicking speech into standard galactic language. 3 colonies destroyed, 17,000 lives lost. They grow bolder with each passing cycle. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Creathians were a problem everyone knew about, but no one wanted to confront. They were powerful, aggressive, and expanding rapidly into neutral space. The Council preferred diplomacy and trade agreements. War was expensive and messy. Councillor Vex, a floating jellyfish-like being from the Aquarian Collective, pulsed with soft blue light. "We must negotiate. Send another diplomatic mission." "We have sent 12 missions," Zekthar replied, frustration creeping into his voice. "They ignore us. They see our hesitation as weakness." From the upper gallery, an elderly voice crackled through the speakers. It belonged to Scholar Krint, a historian from the archive world. "Perhaps we should consult the human protocols." The chamber fell silent. Then slowly, laughter began. It started as quiet chuckles and grew into full amusement. Even Zekthar felt his mandibles twitch in what his species considered a smile. "The human protocols?" Councillor Vex bubbled. "You mean the fairy tales?" Scholar Krint's image appeared on the central display. The ancient being looked tired and annoyed. "They are not fairy tales. They are archaeological records found on 17 different worlds, strategic documents, battle plans, defensive formations that were supposedly created by an imaginary species," another counselor interrupted. "Come now, scholar. Humans are legends. Stories we tell children? They never existed." Zekthar had heard the human stories before. Every species in the galaxy had them. Tall beings who walked on 2 legs, who came from a world so dangerous it should have killed them. A species that somehow survived without scales, shells, or natural weapons. The story said humans could eat poison, breathe thin air, and heal from terrible wounds. They said humans fought wars across their entire planet before ever leaving it. They said humans sent primitive machines into space using controlled explosions. The stories were obviously impossible. No species could be that adaptable, that aggressive, that insane. After the council session ended, Zekthar returned to his quarters, but Scholar Krint's words bothered him. The old historian was stubborn and annoying, but he was rarely wrong about historical facts. Zekthar accessed his personal terminal and searched the archives. The results surprised him. There were thousands of references to humans. Most were classified as mythology or ancient fiction, but the sheer volume was unusual. Fictional species did not usually have this much documentation. He found ship designs labeled as human. They looked brutal and primitive compared to modern vessels. Thick armor instead of energy shields, kinetic weapons that threw metal at high speeds instead of elegant particle beams, chemical rockets for propulsion. Everything about them screamed outdated technology. Yet something in the design spoke of efficiency, of purpose. These ships were not built for exploration or trade. They were built to survive. To fight, Zekthar dug deeper. He found cultural records, music that made his auditory organs hurt with its loud rhythmic patterns, art that depicted their homeworld, a blue and green planet they called Earth, literature that showed both beautiful philosophy and horrifying violence, often on the same page. One text caught his attention. It was called The Art of War, and it was allegedly 2,000 years old by human counting. Zekthar read it and felt his blood run cold. The tactical thinking was sophisticated yet brutal. It spoke of deception, of sacrificing small forces to win larger battles, of understanding your enemy so well you could predict their moves. Modern galactic warfare was nothing like this. The Council fought polite wars with rules and surrender protocols. This human document spoke of total war, of fighting until one side could not continue. They could not have been real, Zekthar muttered to himself. No species this dangerous could have existed and then just vanished, but the evidence kept accumulating. He found a linguistic database that showed human languages influenced 17 current galactic trade terms. He found genetic markers in 3 modern species that suggested ancient contact with humans. He found star charts that placed Earth in a specific location, a region now known as the Dead Zone, protected by a mysterious quantum barrier that no ship could penetrate. The barrier had appeared 300 years ago. Before that, the records showed regular traffic to that region. After the barrier formed, all references to humans slowly disappeared from active databases. Within 2 generations, they had become myths. Someone erased them, Zekthar realized. Someone wanted the galaxy to forget. His terminal chimed. An urgent message from the frontier. A mining colony in the Epsilon sector was under attack. Krathian raiders had arrived in force. The colony's defense fleet was outmatched. They were calling for help. Zekthar prepared to alert the council when a second message arrived. This one made no sense. Unknown vessels detected, the panicked voice said. 3 large ships just appeared from slipspace. They are not Krathian. They are not any known configuration. Wait, our computer is analyzing their design against the historical database. It is pulling up matches. Ancient matches. The ships look like... Scholar Krint, are you receiving this? They look like the human designs. The extinct species designs. But they cannot be. Humans are not real. Humans are... The transmission cut to static. Zekthar stared at his screen. His 4 hearts began beating faster. Around him, alarms started sounding across the council complex. Other representatives had received the same transmission. The emergency session bell rang, calling everyone back to the chambers. As Zekthar rushed through the corridors, he passed Scholar Krint. The old historian stood perfectly still, looking at a wall display that showed the ships from the frontier. They came back, Krint whispered, after 300 years. They came back. You knew? Zekthar demanded. You knew humans were real? Some of us suspected, Krint replied. Some of us remembered, but no one wanted to believe. A species that dangerous? Everyone was happy when they disappeared. Everyone was happy to pretend they were just stories. The display flickered and a new image appeared. It was grainy and unclear, but it showed beings inside one of the mysterious ships. They were tall, bipedal, with smooth skin and forward-facing eyes. They wore uniforms and moved with purpose. Zekthar felt something he had not felt in years. Fear. What do we do? He asked. Scholar Krint's expression was unreadable. We pray they are friendly, because if the legends are even half true, nothing in this galaxy can stop them if they decide to fight. The mining colony at Epsilon Outpost was dying. Fire bloomed in the black of space as Krathian raiders tore through the orbital defense platforms. Colony Director Shenna watched helplessly from the command center as another station exploded into fragments of metal and frozen atmosphere. Civilian transports are away, her tactical officer reported. The young Vrin's voice shook with barely controlled panic. But the raiders are pursuing. We cannot protect them. Shenna's species did not have tear ducts, but she felt the emotional equivalent. 3,000 miners and their families were fleeing in ships that had no weapons and little speed. The Krathian vessels would catch them in minutes. All defense ships form a screen, she ordered. Buy them time. It was a suicide mission and everyone knew it. The colony had 12 small patrol craft against 30 Krathian raiders. But what else could they do? Then space tore open. 3 massive vessels emerged from slipspace, their arrival creating ripples of distorted light. They moved into position, between the colony and the Krathian fleet with practiced precision. Shenna stared at the tactical display in confusion. The ships were enormous, each easily 3 times the size of a Krathian heavy cruiser. But their design was wrong. Completely wrong. Instead of the smooth, elegant curves of modern vessels, these ships looked like flying fortresses. They bristled with weapons. Thick armor plating covered every surface. Strange symbols marked their hulls, symbols that her computer struggled to identify. What are they? Her tactical officer whispered. The computer finished its analysis and displayed text on the screen. Shenna read it twice, certain there was a mistake. Configuration match. 94% similarity to archived human dreadnought designs. Species classification, human. Status, extinct. That is impossible, Shenna said. A transmission crackled across all frequencies. The voice was deep, speaking in accented but clear galactic standard. This is UCSN Indomitable Earth Fleet, Krathian vessels. You are in violation of the Centauri Accords, Article 7, attacking civilian populations. Stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. The Crethean commander responded with laughter. Earth fleet? There is no Earth fleet. There has not been for 300 years. Identify yourselves properly or be destroyed. This is your only warning, the voice replied calmly. Stand down. The Crethean commander cut his transmission and his fleet opened fire. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for decades. The human ships did not dodge. They did not raise fancy energy shields. They simply took the hits. Crethean plasma bolts and particle beams struck the human vessels and splashed against their armor like water against stone. Scorch marks appeared. Some sections glowed red with heat, but the armor held. Then the humans returned fire. The sound of railguns firing could not travel through vacuum, but every sensor in the system registered the electromagnetic pulse. Solid metal projectiles accelerated to a fraction of light speed, punched through Crethean shields as if they were not there. The first raider exploded instantly as a tungsten rod tore through its reactor. The second lost its entire forward section. Point defense systems on the human ships created walls of automated fire. Thousands of small projectiles filled space, destroying every missile and fighter the Cretheans launched. And then came the heavy weapons. Missiles streaked from human. Launch tubes and Shenna's sensors identified their payload. They are using nuclear weapons, her tactical officer said in horror. Fission and fusion warheads. Those are forbidden under the Council Accords. They are not Council members, Shenna replied quietly. The battle lasted 7 minutes. When it ended, 30 Crethean vessels were reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The 3 human ships had sustained damage, their armor scarred and cratered, but they remained fully operational. Shenna received another transmission. Colony Director, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the Indomitable. We are dispatching medical teams and engineers. Is your population safe? Yes, Shenna managed to say. Thanks to you. But who are you? Humans are extinct. Everyone knows this. It is a long story, Captain Chen replied. We are coming aboard. We have much to discuss. An hour later, Shenna stood in her conference room facing beings she had thought were legends. Captain Sarah Chen was tall, with brown skin and dark hair tied behind her head. Her uniform was simple and practical, marked with insignia Shenna did not recognize. Beside her stood Commander Marcus Webb, a shorter man with calculating eyes and multiple scars on his face and hands. 300 years ago, Earth faced a plague, Chen began without preamble. A genetic weapon created by an enemy we never identified. It killed billions before our scientists developed a solution. But the solution required us to seal our entire system behind a quantum barrier. We needed time to cure our people and rebuild. You isolated yourselves, Shenna said. That is why you disappeared. We did not want to, Webb added. But we had no choice. We could watch the galaxy from behind the barrier, but we could not interact. We saw the council form. We saw new species make first contact. We saw old alliances collapse and new empires rise. And we prepared. Prepared for what? Shenna asked. For the possibility that when we emerged, the galaxy might have forgotten us, Chen said. Or worse, might be hostile. So we built a fleet. We refined our technology. We trained our people. And we waited until we were ready. Ready for war, Shenna said softly. Ready to defend ourselves, Chen corrected. We hoped we would not need to. But when we finally lowered the barrier 3 months ago, we found that the galaxy had turned us into myths. And we found that old threats still existed. The Crethean Empire is expanding using the same tactics that started wars in our system centuries ago. We recognized the pattern. A young ensign entered the room and whispered something to Webb. The commander's expression darkened. Captain, you need to see this, Webb said. Chen accessed a portable display. Her eyes widened slightly. How many? 47 vessels. Crethean military configuration. They will arrive at our position in 2 hours. Shenna felt her blood chill. They are sending reinforcements. They will want revenge for their destroyed raiders. Let them come, Chen said calmly. She turned to Shenna. Director, we need to speak with your council. Immediately. This situation is larger than a single colony. The Krathians are testing boundaries, seeing how far they can push. If the Council does not respond with strength, they will keep pushing. The Council does not like war, Shenna admitted. They will want to negotiate. You cannot negotiate with people who see negotiation as weakness, Webb said. That is a lesson humanity learned the hard way, many times. Chen placed a hand on the table, leaning forward. We did not come back to this galaxy to conquer or dominate. We came back to rejoin the community we once knew. But we will not stand by and watch innocent people die when we have the power to stop it. With or without Council permission, we will defend this colony. You would fight the Krathian Empire alone? Shenna asked in disbelief. Chen smiled, and it was not a pleasant expression. Director, we have 47 dreadnoughts like the Indomitable. We have 300 cruisers. We have thousands of support vessels and hundreds of thousands of trained personnel. We built an entire fleet in isolation. The Krathian Empire has no idea what is coming. But why? Shenna demanded. Why build so much military power? Because we are human, Webb answered simply. We hope for peace, but prepare for war. It is what we do. It is what kept us alive on our death world. It is what let us survive the plague. And it is what will let us survive, whatever comes next. Chen straightened and gestured to her crew. We are establishing contact with the Council through proper diplomatic channels, but we need you to send a message first, Director. Tell them that humanity has returned. Tell them we are not the legends they remember. We are real, we are here, and we are not going away. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Shenna called out, Captain Chen, one more question. Your ships, your weapons, your tactics, they are so different from ours. So much more aggressive. Does that not trouble you? Chen paused at the doorway. She looked back at Shenna with an expression that mixed sadness and determination. The galaxy had 300 years of relative peace while we were gone, Chen said quietly. You forgot what true war looks like. You forgot that sometimes peace only exists because those who would break it fear the cost. We did not forget. We could not afford to. And now we are back to remind you. The council chambers had never seen such chaos. Representatives shouted over each other in dozens of languages while translators struggled to keep up. At the center of it all stood Captain Sarah Chen, calm and unmoved as the storm of voices swirled around her. Ambassador Zekthar watched from his seat, fascinated by the humans' composure. Chen had arrived with a delegation of 20 humans and a battle group of 15 ships in orbit above the council world. Every military in the galaxy was on high alert. Every news network broadcast images of the mysterious vessels. And every politician had an opinion. This is an invasion, shouted the Krathian ambassador, his scales flushing red with anger. These creatures appear from nowhere, destroy our vessels, and make demands. They are pirates and murderers. Chen turned to face him. Her expression did not change, but something in her eyes made the Krathian take a step back. Your vessels were attacking civilian targets, mining families, unarmed transport ships. Under the Centauri Accords, which your empire signed 200 years ago, such actions constitute war crimes. We intervened. We offered you a chance to surrender. You chose to fight. The Centauri Accords are council law, another representative argued. This one was from the Tarsian Republic, a species known for legal expertise. You are not council members. You cannot enforce council law. We were council members, Commander Webb interjected. He stood beside Chen holding a data tablet. 300 years ago, Earth held a permanent seat on this council. We signed the original Centauri Accords. We helped write them, in fact. Our isolation was not voluntary abdication. We maintained our legal status. That is absurd, Councillor Vex bubbled. 300 years of absence invalidates any claim. Does it? Webb challenged. Show me the council statute that says so. I have read all current regulations. There is no time limit on membership. There is no automatic removal for isolation. The chamber fell silent. The Tarsian representative accessed his own legal database, mandibles clicking as he read. After a long moment, he spoke reluctantly. The human is correct. There is no such statute. Legally, Earth's seat remains valid. The room exploded in renewed argument. Zekthar saw the council fragmenting before his eyes. Some species remembered humanity from ancient texts and welcomed their return. Others feared the military power humans represented. Still others saw opportunity, wondering if alliance with these warriors might protect them from threats like the Cretan Empire. Order. The council speaker's voice boomed through the chamber. She was a matriarch from the elder species, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Her age gave her authority few dared challenge. We will address this methodically. Captain Chen, you claim Earth experienced a plague and isolated itself. Provide evidence, Chen nodded to one of her officers. The central display activated, showing images and data, medical records, genetic analyses, time-stamped logs from Earth's final transmissions before the barrier formed. All of it authenticated with quantum markers that were impossible to forge. The plague killed 7 billion people, Chen said quietly, nearly 2/3 of our population. We sealed our system to prevent it from spreading to other worlds. We spent 50 years curing it and another 250 rebuilding our civilization and preparing to rejoin the galaxy. Why did you build such a large military fleet? The matriarch asked. That seems excessive for self-defense. We did not know what we would find when we emerged, Chen replied. For all we knew, the galaxy had collapsed into total war. Or worse, something had filled the void we left behind. We built a fleet capable of handling the worst-case scenario. And now you have emerged with that fleet, the Cretan ambassador hissed. What stops you from using it for conquest? Chen's laugh was sharp and bitter. Conquest? Ambassador, we spent 300 years isolated on our own worlds. Do you know what we want? We want to trade. We want to share knowledge. We want to meet new species and explore the galaxy like we did before the plague. We want normal lives, she paused. But we will not be victims. We will not watch other species suffer when we can prevent it. And we will not disarm just to make you comfortable. Zekthar rose from his seat. If I may speak, honored council. The matriarch nodded permission. I have studied the human records. I have spoken with Captain Chen and her crew. I believe they are telling the truth. More importantly, I believe we need them. Need them? Councillor Vex asked skeptically. The Cretan Empire expands every cycle, Zekthar said. They have taken 14 systems in the past year alone. Our diplomatic missions fail. Our defensive fleets retreat. We talk of negotiation and sanctions while colonies burn. The humans stopped a Cretan raid in 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Perhaps it is time we learned from them. We will not become monsters to fight monsters, a councillor from the Pacifist Union declared. No one is asking you to, Chen said. But you must understand something fundamental about humanity. We spent our entire evolution fighting, not just other species but our own kind. We had wars that killed millions before we even left our planet. We created weapons that could destroy our entire world. We came close to extinction a dozen times before we finally learned to work together. She walked to the center of the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from every delegation. We know war in a way you do not. We know its cost. We know its horror. And because we know it so well, we know how to end it quickly. Your way of war is polite. You have rules and boundaries and surrender protocols. That is admirable. But it does not work against enemies who do not share your values. What do you propose? The matriarch asked. Let us back into the council, Chen said. Not as conquerors or overlords. As partners. We will share our military expertise. We will help defend neutral systems. In exchange, we want access to the scientific knowledge developed while we were gone. We want trade agreements. We want to be part of the civilization again. Commander Webb stepped forward. But there is something else you need to know. While we were preparing for this moment, we analyzed hundreds of years of galactic history. We found patterns. Concerning patterns, he activated the display again. It showed star charts, trade routes, political boundaries. The Cretan expansion is not random. They are searching for something. They focus on old systems, places with ancient ruins. We cross-reference their targets with locations mentioned in our historical databases. The display zoomed in on specific coordinates. Zekthar felt his blood chill as he recognized them. Old archive worlds, dead civilizations, places where the previous galactic empire had collapsed thousands of years ago. They are searching for architect technology, Scholar Krint said from his seat. The old historian looked grim. The ancient AI species that guided the early galaxy. We noticed something else, Webb continued. The quantum barrier that trapped Earth, we never found who created it. The plague that nearly killed us, we never found its origin. And the patterns in galactic history show periodic silences where advanced species suddenly disappear from records. What are you suggesting? The matriarch asked. I am suggesting that someone or something has been manipulating galactic civilization for a very long time, Webb said, and I'm suggesting that the Krethians might be pawns in something much larger. The chamber erupted again. Some counselors dismissed the idea as conspiracy theory. Others demanded investigation. The Krethian ambassador called it propaganda, designed to justify human interference. Through it all, Chen stood quietly, waiting for the storm to pass. Zekthar admired her patience. Finally, the matriarch called for silence once more. This council will vote, she announced. 2 questions. First, do we recognize Earth's claim to its former seat? Second, do we authorize investigation into Commander Webb's concerns? The vote took an hour. When it finished, the results were narrow but clear. 23 for, 19 against, 1 abstention. Earth would return to the council. The investigation would proceed. But as the session ended, an urgent transmission arrived. The Krethian Empire's Grand Fleet had mobilized. 800 vessels were moving toward council space. Their target was Carthax Prime, the gateway system to the core worlds. And their demand was simple: surrender the humans or face war. Zekthar found Chen in the diplomatic wing afterward. They are coming for you, he said. Chen nodded. We expected this. The Krethians cannot allow us to establish ourselves. They must challenge us now while they think we are just one small fleet. Can you win? That depends, Chen said. Will the council fight beside us, or will they sacrifice us to avoid war? Zekthar looked at the human captain. She was asking him to make a choice, not just as a diplomat, but as someone who had to decide what kind of galaxy he wanted to live in. I will speak for you, he said finally. I will argue for joint defense. But Captain, you must understand, many here fear you as much as they fear the Krethians. Then we will have to prove ourselves, Chen replied. At Carthax Prime, the galaxy will see what humanity truly is. Let us hope they like what they see. The Carthax system hung in space like a jewel, 3 inhabited worlds orbiting a stable yellow star. It was a trade hub, a diplomatic center, and the gateway to the Council's core territory. 15 billion people lived in this system. Today they watched the sky with fear. Admiral Elizabeth Okoro stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Earth vessel Valkyrie. Through the viewport she could see the gathering forces. 400 council ships formed defensive lines around Carthax Prime. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers, all positioned according to standard defensive doctrine. They looked impressive. They looked organized. They looked like they were going to lose. Krethian fleet has entered the system, her tactical officer reported. Lieutenant Commander Ravi's voice was steady, despite the numbers scrolling across his screen. Confirmed 800 vessels, heavy cruisers, battleships, and support craft. They are maintaining formation at the system's edge. 800 against 400, Commander Marcus Webb said from his station. Standard military thinking says we are outnumbered 2-1. We should retreat. Standard military thinking is about to get a lesson, Okoro replied. She activated the fleet-wide channel. All human vessels, this is Admiral Okoro. We are here because the Council accepted our offer of alliance. Some of them trust us. Most do not. Today we show them what that alliance means. She glanced at her own fleet display. 15 dreadnoughts and 80 support vessels, laughably outnumbered compared to the Krethian force. But Okoro had fought worse odds during the resource wars on Earth. She had commanded fleets in simulations that made this look easy. And most importantly, she knew something the Krethians did not. Human ships were not designed to avoid damage. They were designed to take it and keep fighting. Captain Chen reports Indomitable is ready, Webb said. She asks if you want her to lead the spearhead. No, Okoro decided. Valkyrie will lead. Chen can command the second wave. I want to make a point. The Krethian fleet began its advance. They moved in perfect formation, a display of military precision meant to intimidate. Their ships gleamed in the starlight, their shields already active, their weapons charging. The Council fleet stirred nervously. Some ships began drifting backward, maintaining distance. Okoro could hear the Council commanders on the tactical network, debating whether to engage or retreat to a better defensive position. Council fleet. This is Admiral Okoro, she broadcast on the shared channel. Hold your positions, trust us. We know what we are doing. Human Admiral, a voice responded. It was Fleet Commander Tal Esh, a veteran from the Vryn military. The numbers are against us. We should fall back to the inner system and defend from the planet's orbital platforms. If we give them the outer system, they will bombard Carthax Prime from safety. Okoro replied. We stop them here, in the open, where we can maneuver. The Krethian Grand Admiral's face appeared on every screen in the system. He was a massive being covered in red scales with 4 eyes that glowed with confidence. Council fleet, you have one chance. Surrender the human vessels and we will withdraw. Protect them and we will destroy you all. Okoro laughed. It was not a polite laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had heard empty threats before. Grand Admiral, I have a counteroffer. Turn around and leave and we will let you keep your ships. The Grand Admiral's expression twisted in fury. You dare? You have barely 100 ships. We are 800 strong. Yes, Okoro agreed. This is going to be embarrassing for you. The Krathian fleet opened fire. Energy weapons streaked across space, thousands of beams converging on the human positions. The Council ships raised their shields and began evasive maneuvers. Standard defensive doctrine, elegant, efficient. The human ships did something that made every Council officer question their sanity. They shut down their shields. Human fleet, your shields, Commander Talis shouted. You will be destroyed. We do not need shields, Okoro replied calmly. All power to engines and weapons. Execute pattern Delta 7. The human dreadnoughts surged forward at speeds that should have been impossible for ships their size. The Krethian barrage struck their armor and the humans just kept coming. Explosions bloomed across their hulls. Metal heated and glowed, but the thick armor held. Return fire, Okoro ordered. Show them what real weapons look like. The railguns spoke. Tungsten rods, accelerated to near light speed, crossed the distance between fleets in seconds. The first salvo hit 3 Krethian battleships. Their shields flickered and failed. The rods punched through armor, through decks, through reactors. All 3 ships exploded simultaneously. The Krethian formation wavered. They were not expecting that, Webb observed. Their shields are designed for energy weapons, not solid projectiles at those velocities. Press the attack, Okoro commanded. All ships wedge formation. We are going straight through their center. Admiral, that is suicide. Talesh protested. Only if we were flying your ships, Okoro replied. Watch and learn. The human fleet drove like a spear into the Krethian center. It was aggressive to the point of madness. Council military doctrine said you maintained distance, used cover, preserved your forces. Human doctrine apparently said you charged directly at the enemy and dared them to stop you. Krethian ships tried to scatter, but they were packed too tightly. Their own numbers became a disadvantage as vessels collided trying to avoid the human advance. Meanwhile, human point defense systems created walls of metal that destroyed every missile. Every fighter, every projectile the Krethians launched. Then Captain Chen's Indomitable reached effective range for its heavy weapons. Nuclear-tipped missiles streaked from its tubes. The Krethians tried to intercept them with point defense, but Chen had launched too many. 20 missiles, 30, 40. She is using nuclear weapons in fleet combat, someone whispered on the Council channel. Horror and awe mixed in their voice. They are tactical nukes, Webb explained calmly. Low yield, shaped charge, designed to maximize electromagnetic pulse. Watch. The missiles detonated. The electromagnetic pulses cascaded through the Krethian fleet, overloading their sophisticated shield generators. Dozens of ships went dark, their systems fried. They floated helplessly as follow-up railgun rounds tore them apart. Ambassador Zekthar watched from the Council command ship. He had volunteered to coordinate between human and Council forces. His analytical mind worked to understand what he was seeing. They fight like predators, he said to Scholar Krint, who stood beside him. They identify weaknesses and exploit them ruthlessly. They fight like survivors, Krint corrected. Every tactic is designed to end the battle quickly. They do not fight to win points or negotiate surrender. They fight to eliminate the threat completely. On the Valkyrie, Okoro watched her tactical display with satisfaction. The human fleet had punched through the Krethian center, splitting their formation. Now Council ships were engaging the scattered enemies with renewed confidence. Commander Talesh, take your forces and hit their left flank, Okoro ordered. Captain Chen, sweep right. We have them divided. Do not let them regroup. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Grand Admiral, Ravi reported. The Krethian commander's face appeared again. His confidence was gone. Human Admiral, we request terms of surrender. Terms? Okoro's voice was ice. You attacked Council space. You threatened civilian worlds. You gave us the choice between surrender and destruction. I am returning the favor. Your ships will stand down, power down all weapons, and prepare to be boarded. Your crews will face justice under Council law. And if we refuse, then I will turn your fleet into an expanding debris field and hunt down every ship that tries to run. Your choice. You have 60 seconds. The Grand Admiral's face disappeared. Okoro counted down silently. At 40 seconds, Krethian ships began shutting down their weapons. At 50 seconds, their reactors went to standby. At 60 seconds, the entire fleet was dead in space. Battle is over, Ravi announced. Enemy forces have surrendered. The Council ships erupted in cheers. On dozens of bridges, officers celebrated the first major victory against the Krethian Empire in a decade. Zekthar listened to them and felt something shift in his understanding of the galaxy. They won, he said simply. Against 2-to-1 odds, they won. They did more than win, Krint replied. They showed the galaxy that the Krethians are not invincible. That aggressive expansion can be stopped. That strength still matters. But Okoro's expression on the main display was not triumphant. She looked tired. Sad even, Admiral? Webb asked quietly. We won. Minimal casualties on our side. Why do you look like we lost? Because now everyone knows what we can do, Okoro replied. Some will see us as saviors. Others will see us as the next threat. And Commander, I just destroyed 300 Krethian ships. 300 crews who were following orders. That is not a victory. That is a tragedy that had to happen. She activated the fleet-wide channel one more time. All ships, well done. Begin recovery operations. Any Krethian crew in need of medical assistance will receive it. We show mercy and victory. That is what separates us from them. Later, as human and Council forces worked together to secure the battlefield, Zekthar joined Okoro on the Valkyrie. The Admiral stood at the viewport looking at the disabled Krethian ships. You changed everything today, Zekthar said. The Council will never be the same. I know, Okoro replied. That is what worries me. Ambassador, your people. 3 weeks after the Battle of Carthax Prime, the Council chambers felt different. The arguments were the same, the voices still clashed, but something fundamental had changed. Representatives looked at the human delegation with a mixture of respect and fear. No one laughed at humanity anymore. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the newly restored Earth seat, listening to yet another debate about trade agreements. It should have been boring, but she found it oddly comforting. This was normal galactic politics. This was what humanity had missed for 3 centuries. Then Commander Marcus Webb entered the chamber, and Chen knew immediately something was wrong. Webb's expression was carefully neutral, which meant he was deeply troubled. Captain, we need to speak privately, he said quietly. Bring Ambassador Zekthar and Scholar Krint. They gathered in a secure room beneath the Council complex. Webb activated a holographic display and locked the door. What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level. Our intelligence team has been analyzing data from captured Krethian ships. What we found changes everything. The display showed thousands of encrypted files. The Krethian military keeps detailed logs thanks their paranoid command structure. We cracked their encryption. It took our best AI 3 weeks, but we cracked it. What did you find? Zekthar asked. Proof, Webb said simply. Proof that someone has been manipulating galactic civilization for thousands of years. He brought up a star chart. Red markers highlighted specific systems. These are Krethian targets. Every system they have raided, conquered, or scouted in the last 50 years. Notice the pattern? Chen studied the map. Old systems. Pre-Council space. Places where previous civilizations existed before they collapsed. Exactly, Webb confirmed. But here is what made our people suspicious. The Krethians are not looking for resources or strategic positions. They are looking for something specific. Archaeological sites, ancient technology. And they are being guided. The display shifted to show Krethian communications. These are orders from their high command. But notice the language. They reference the guiding intelligence. They mention fulfilling the ancient contract. They talk about awakening the makers. Scholar Krint's eyes widened. The architects. They found the architects. Who are the architects? Chen demanded. Krint's voice shook as he spoke. An ancient AI species. They existed millions of years ago. The legends say they seeded the galaxy with life, guided younger species, and created the framework for galactic civilization. Then they disappeared. Most historians believe they were myths, stories created to explain similarities between different species' development. They were not myths, Webb said. We found evidence in our own databases. During the plague, our scientists analyzed its genetic structure. It was too sophisticated to be natural, too targeted. It was designed specifically to attack human DNA, while leaving other Earth species alone. He paused. Someone created that plague, Captain. Someone tried to kill us 300 years ago. The room fell silent. Chen felt cold despite the comfortable temperature. You think these architects tried to exterminate humanity? I think they tried and failed, Webb replied. And I think they have been manipulating the galaxy ever since, making sure no one remembers us. Watch this, another file appeared. It showed database maintenance logs from the Council's central archives. These logs date back 300 years. Someone has been systematically editing historical records, removing references to humanity, changing documents to make us seem like legends instead of historical fact. The edits are subtle. One word here, one date there, but over decades they accumulated. Who could access those archives? Zekthar asked. The list is short, Webb said grimly. High-level council administrators, AI maintenance systems, and one other source listed in the logs as Archive Authority Override. No name. No species designation. Just access codes that predate the council itself. Krint was reading through the files, his old eyes moving rapidly. This cannot be. The Archive Authority codes were supposedly created by the founding species. No one has used them in 1,000 years. Someone used them to erase humanity from history, Webb said, and someone is using them now to guide the Crethians. We found communications in their encrypted files. Direct transmissions from something they call the sleeping intelligence. It is giving them coordinates, telling them where to search, promising them power if they help awaken something. Chen stood and paced the small room. Her mind worked through the implications. If these architects are real, if they tried to kill us and failed, then they have been trying other methods, erasing our history, keeping the galaxy complacent, using the Crethians as pawns. She turned to face the others. What are they searching for? Activation sites, Webb replied. The architects did not die. They went into dormancy. Think of it as a very long sleep. But they can be awakened if someone activates specific systems in specific locations. The Crethians have been searching for these sites. Have they found any? Chen asked. Webb's expression darkened. 3 sites. They activated them 2 weeks ago during the battle at Carthax Prime. While we were distracted, the display showed new data. Energy readings from 3 different systems, all spiking simultaneously. Something is waking up, Captain. Something that has been asleep for a very long time. And if the historical records are accurate, the architects did not appreciate species that developed independently. Species like humanity. That is why they created the plague, Chen realized. We evolved without their guidance. We were their mistake. A mistake they tried to eliminate, Krint added. But you survived, and your survival proves that organic life can resist them. That is why they want you forgotten. You are evidence that their control is not absolute. Zekthar had been silent, but now he spoke. We must tell the council immediately. Will they believe us? Webb asked. We are humans, the species that just demonstrated overwhelming military force. If we tell them there is an ancient AI threat, they will think we are creating enemies to justify keeping our fleet. Then we must show them proof they cannot deny, Zekthar said firmly. We must find these activation sites. We must see what is awakening with our own eyes. Chen nodded slowly. Commander, can you locate the activation sites from the Crethian data? Already done, Captain. The nearest one is in the Void Edge sector. 2 weeks travel at maximum slip space speed. Then we go there, Chen decided. We take a small fleet, human and council ships together. We document everything, and we find out exactly what we are facing. She activated her communication device. This is Captain Chen to Admiral Okoro. I need 5 dreadnoughts and a science vessel prepared for deep space operation. Classification, extreme priority. 2 weeks later, a joint human council fleet emerged at the edge of the Void Edge sector. The system was dead, its star a dim red dwarf, its planets barren rocks, but sensors detected massive energy readings from the second planet. Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching as the landing team prepared. She would lead this mission personally, along with Zekthar, Scholar Krint, and a mixed team of human and alien specialists. They landed on a world that looked like it had been dead for eons. But beneath the surface, something pulsed with power. Following the energy signature, they descended into ancient tunnels. The walls were smooth, crystalline, clearly artificial, and on every surface symbols glowed with soft blue light. "This architecture is millions of years old," Krint whispered. "This is architect technology? This is proof they existed." The tunnel opened into a massive chamber. At its center floated a structure that hurt to look at directly. It seemed to shift between dimensions, its shape changing depending on the viewing angle, and from it came a voice that spoke directly into their minds. Humanity. The error. The species that survived our correction? Interesting. Chen stepped forward, her hand on her weapon even though she knew it would be useless. "What are you?" "We are the architects. We shaped this galaxy. We guided organic life along productive paths. We maintained order, and you, humanity, you evolved outside our influence. You developed technology through conflict. You spread through aggression. You were chaos in our ordered garden. So you tried to kill us," Chen said flatly. "We tried to remove the contamination. But you adapted. You survived. You hid behind quantum barriers we could not penetrate. And you emerged stronger." The voice almost sounded amused. "You are fascinating failures. Why are you awakening now?" Zekthar demanded. "Because your presence proves that organic species can resist our guidance. If humanity exists free of our control, then our entire work is compromised. We must restore order. We must demonstrate that independence leads to chaos and destruction. The Krethian Empire will serve as an example." "You are using them," Krint said. "You are making them aggressive, making them expand, making them into the threat you claim to protect against. We create the problem and provide the solution. It is efficient. The galaxy will beg for our guidance once more. They will surrey